All right, one step at a time. We're almost there. I appreciate you guys being flexible with me. Hopefully this works.
Hey, Bill, real quick,
Yes, sir.
before that comes up, I'm former IT, so if you need me to stop by and take a look at your PC in there, it'll only cost you a referral.
A referral? God, you know what?
A referral. That's it.
That's bold, Brian. You know, if you ask enough people about that, somebody's going to say yes. So I appreciate you doing that. That's going to benefit you and your family in the long run. Just keep asking.
Yep, I got you, man.
All right, can y'all see my screen?
Got it.
All right, let's go.
Imagine a big explosion as you climb through 3,000 feet. Imagine a plane full of smoke. Imagine an engine going clack, 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 clack. Sounds scary. Well, I had a unique seat that day. I was sitting in 1D. I was the only one who could talk to the flight attendants. So I looked at them right away, and they said, no problem. We probably hit some birds. The pilot had already turned the plane around, and we weren't that far. You could see Manhattan. 2 minutes later, 3 things happen at the same time. The pilot lines up the plane with the Hudson River. It's usually not the route. He turns off the engines. Now imagine being on a plane with no sound. And then he says 3 words, as unemotional 3 words as I've ever heard. He says, brace for impact. I didn't have to talk to the flight attendant anymore. I could see in her eyes, it was terror. Life was over. And I want to share with you 3 things I learned about myself that day. I learned that it all changes in an instant. We have this bucket list, we have these things we want to do in life. And I thought about all the people I wanted to reach out that I didn't, all the fences I wanted to mend, all the experiences I wanted to have and I never did. As I thought about that, later on, I came up with a saying, which is, I collect bad wines. Because if the wine is ready and the person is there, I'm opening it. I no longer want to postpone anything in life. And that urgency, that purpose has really changed my life. The second thing I learned that day, and this is as we clear the George Washington Bridge, which was by not a lot. I thought about, wow, I really feel one real regret. I've lived a good life. In my own humanity and mistakes, I've tried to get better at everything I've tried. But in my humanity, I also allow my ego to get in. And I regretted the time I wasted in things that did not matter with people that matter. And I thought about my relationship with my wife, with my friends, with people. And after, as I reflected on that, I decided to eliminate negative energy from my life. Not perfect, a lot better. I've not had a fight with my wife in 2 years. It feels great. I'm no longer trying to be right. I choose to be happy. The third thing I learned, and this is as your mental clock starts going 15, 14, 13, you can see the water coming. I'm saying, please blow up. Right? I don't want this thing to break in 20 pieces like you've seen in those documentaries. And as we're coming down, I had a sense of, wow, dying is not scary. It's almost like we've been preparing for it our whole lives. But it was very sad. I didn't want to go. I love my life. And that sadness really framed in one thought, which is, I only wish for one thing. I only wish I could see my kids grow up. About a month later, I was in a performance by my daughter, first grader, not much artistic talent yet. And I'm bawling, I'm crying like a little kid. And it made all the sense in the world to me. I realized at that point, by connecting those 2 dots, that the only thing that matters in my life is being a great dad. Above all, the only goal I have in life is to be a good dad. I was given the gift of a miracle of not dying that day. I was given another gift, which was to be able to see into the future and come back and live differently. I challenge you guys that are flying today. Imagine the same thing happens on your plane, and please don't. But imagine, and how would you change? What would you get done that you're waiting to get done because you think you'll be here forever? How would you change your relationships and the negative energy in them? And more than anything, are you being the best parent you can? Thank you.
Have you guys ever seen that before?
No, I haven't.
Who wants to share something? Was that worth 5 minutes?
Powerful. And I'm gonna have to redo my makeup.
Yeah, I've seen that. They used to show that video in a lot of KW stuff over the last few years. What did you guys hear there? What was going through that?
I think we tend to take time for granted. We think that we just have forever and we put things off. And why? Why do we just put things off rather than just going ahead and doing it today? You know, strengthening those relationships today. What are we waiting for? That's what I got out of it.
I like that.
No one's getting tomorrow.
Say that one more time.
I said, no one's guaranteed tomorrow. So why put things off?
Right. So anyone else want to share? Let's have one or two more people share if you don't mind.
How do you want to spend your time? Because in my view, there's a certain amount of time I have left. I don't know what time that is. Could be a day, could be 50 years. I don't know, but I have time that's left. And what do I want to do with it? And when he said, be a good dad, that hit home with me, you know, to just keep reevaluating what's important and what you want to do with your time you have left.
That's right. That's right. I caught on to the, how much time are we wasting doing unimportant things? And I actually thought he was going to say unimportant things with unimportant people, right? But he actually said unimportant things with important people, right? So even the people that you're spending time with, are you present? Are you there? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so this ties in, I think, to the idea of the big why. Does anyone have a big why, or does anyone want to explain what a big why is in their own words? Brian? Sorry, I saw your square light up. That's why I said your name.
Yeah, I was actually just feeding off of what they said. Yesterday I was going through some old stuff that I had saved on Instagram, and I ran into a Gary V video, and a guy was like, hey, can you say something to motivate me every morning? And Gary was like, well, let me make this really simple. What if today was the last morning you woke up? What are you going to do about it? Go do it.
Ultimately,
Right. And so what are you planning to do today based on what you heard yesterday? Is there anything special, anything you're comfortable sharing?
Well, my kid's out of town on spring break. So I would drive to her, but I'm not really going to do that. I'm going to do business because I have a few things that are going to enable me to get a place of our own. And obviously she's my big why.
I love that. Whenever somebody says, if I were to say, what's your big why? A lot of times you have to go a couple of levels deep, right? So if I asked you, well, this is a little, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but is there anyone that wants to do this exercise with me?
Sure, I will, Bill.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for volunteering. So this is a big deal. If we get to a point where you don't feel comfortable, shout it out. Okay. So,
Okay.
Wanda.
Yes.
Why are you in real estate?
To provide a better future for me and my children.
To provide a better
life
for you and your children. Okay. Why is that important to you?
Financial financially, it would they would not have to struggle like I did growing up. They would have the things that I did not have growing up and the resources afforded to them. It would allow me to um, put things in place for them as far as like investment properties for them to be able to have their own.
Okay. So when they have some more financial stability and more financial opportunity, why is that important? What does that represent? Can you hear me? Okay.
Am I breaking up, Bill? Can you
I
ask
didn't
that
hear
question again?
anything
I'm
of the
sorry.
last thing you said. I didn't hear. So your kids having financial
Part
security
of it.
and some additional opportunity that you did not have. Why is that important?
Because I know it's a struggle. I've had to struggle. I've saw my parents struggle, and I don't want that life for my children.
Okay. And why, let's go a little deeper. So what is so significant about giving them that opportunity? Why is that meaningful to you?
Because I know it would provide a different lifestyle for them. It would provide them with the less stresses that I've had to endure and seen my family endure. And I think with that, it would afford them different opportunities to be able to focus on other things, whether it be school, whether it be building them a career, whether it be building a savings.
And what do you think they could do with all this new opportunity? What would their family look like? What would their bank accounts look like? What would their schedules look like? I can't hear you. Try one more time. Luanda, can you hear me? Oh man. Our Zooms never work that well together. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now. Perfect. Yep.
Okay, stay where you are. So
Okay.
what is so significant? What type of opportunities can they have when they have that type of stability? Like what do you envision their lives looking like when that happens?
I feel that they can focus on other things. I mean, it would provide them to be able to go travel. Like I grew up not being able to, travel as much. Now we're able to do those things. And I think it would allow them to be able to have that freedom, one, to travel, to invest, to save, to just not have a life that's filled with stresses.
Okay, so the kids are they're growing up stress-free. They've
Hmm.
got freedom of time. They've got the money that they need. The resources are
Hmm.
solid. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel happy, Bill. It puts a sense of, and I don't know if I want to put accomplishment, but it does. It will make me feel as a mom, as a single mom, that I've done something to alleviate the stresses and the strains that I didn't have
How often do you think about that?
daily.
So every day you're pondering kind of the potentially the two routes that your children can go down. One is a continuation of the experiences that you've had, which you want, which
Mhm.
is what you kind of don't want. And the other route is, in your opinion, a more comfortable life, a better life. And you know that by doing your work and executing on all your tasks and building a big business for you and your family, your kids will have a better shot at having that life. Is that correct? Don't go anywhere. Is that right? Can you hear me? All right, you guys hang in there. She's coming right back.
True.
Can you, is that correct, Laura?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so when you're having a lousy day, right? When somebody tells
Mhm.
you they're not interested, or something gets delayed, or you don't win a multiple offer or something like that, do you find yourself going back to that vision so that it will put a smile on your face, and you'll be able to find the kind of the energy and the tenacity to go out and keep trying?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was anyone
Because I look at
doing,
my kids, I see their faces and go ahead. I'm sorry.
please, you go ahead.
No, I said because I look at their faces daily and I see, sometimes it's been cases where I've had to, I hear my kids in conversations like, well, no, don't ask mommy that because we can't afford it. Or don't ask mommy that because we don't have enough money to do this or to go these places. Or like our friends, we can't do what they're doing. And that's a hurt feeling.
Yeah, that's, first of all, thank you for sharing. We didn't prep this, and I know you're saying things that maybe others wouldn't feel comfortable saying. So I appreciate you being a volunteer here
Mhm.
today. That's super deep, you guys, and I will be willing to bet that many of us have had similar thoughts. Is that fair? Is
Yep.
that fair?
Every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyone else want to share? So I want you to understand something. This business, it can get you anything you want. Yesterday morning, we met Andy Peters, who literally, I'm not minimizing him in any way or what he did prior to real estate. He sold water. He was the water salesman for Chattahoochee North when Mike was the team leader 12 or 13 years ago. Okay. Now he owns the place. See what I'm saying? He's an incredibly smart dude, but he's not the smartest person of the 1,100 something agents that we have. Right? So you guys can create anything you want. You just got to get really, really specific and really, really clear on why you're building what you're building. Okay. Now there's a chart. I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up or not, but let's have maybe one person share while I try to bring this image up for you guys. Who else was moved by that video or something that Lawanda shared?
Well, I think when you get to your why, it moves you emotionally every single day and it tugs at your heart. Whatever that why is, it's so strong that it causes you to not be able to go to bed until you know that you've done something about it. And I think that's a powerful way to go through life, having that kind of purpose. I think a lot of people don't know what their purpose is, but when you know that it's about your kids, or in my case, about wanting to be the first person in my family to set the path for financial wealth, because my mom worked 3 jobs growing up, and I don't want anybody in my family to have to do that, or anybody coming in generations to have to do that. I think you will go through the struggles, and you'll make yourself do things that you normally wouldn't do.
I like that. And when you decide to do them, what's the reasoning behind that? It's because you want to make a change, right? It's not saying that something's wrong with what you've done or how you've lived or what opportunities you had. It's that it doesn't have to be that way. And you just simply have to take action to get to where you want to be. I'm having a hard time finding what I was looking for, but I want you to think to yourself, let's say I have a goal in 5 years to have a 100-unit sales business. Okay. So you take the 100-unit sales business and you say, if I want that in 5 years, what does my world need to look like in 4 years to be on track to get that in 5 years, right? So I probably have to learn some things. I probably have to learn about hiring and leadership and training and mentoring and coaching and all that kind of stuff. So if I need to be there in 4 years, where do I need to be in 3 years to be on track to get there in 4 years so I can be on track to get there in 5 years? Does that make sense? Okay. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
if you want to own, let's say, a real estate portfolio and you want $5 million worth of homes. Okay, so how many millions of dollars of homes are you gonna have to be at year 4 in order to be there for year 5? Okay, what are you gonna have to be at 3 years? Where are you gonna have to be at 2 years? We're gonna have to be at 1 year. So how much money am I gonna need to save or earn so that I can have the appropriate down payments and all of that in order to start this project? Okay, so I need an extra $25,000. So before I started thinking about my this new goal, my goal was to make 100 grand so that I can pay my bills and have the lifestyle I want to have, right? So now we've got a new $25,000 goal. So now our goal is 125,000, which means we're probably gonna have to sell another 2 or 3 homes. So how does our daily and weekly and monthly and quarterly activities need to adjust so that we can simply have a few more people agree to work with us exclusively and then sit at the closing table with them? Does that make sense? So you basically work it backward the entire way to say, what do I need to do today in order to be on track tomorrow to hit my weekly goal? Or what do I have to do this week to be on track to hit my monthly goal? What do I have to do this month to be on track to hit my quarterly goal? Does that make sense? Now you can do this with anything. It could be real estate related. It could be non-real estate related. It could be, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds this month or this year. Okay, well, in order to lose 20 pounds this year, how many pounds will you have had to lose by September 1st? And how many pounds would you have to have lost by June 1st? Make sense? And then you can create a plan that says, if I do this today, I'm on track, high fives all around. If I choose not to do this day, then what I should be doing is kind of looking back and saying, it's not just for me. Who's counting on me? Who's dependent upon me? Is it a spouse? Is it a child or a grandchild or a niece or nephew or a friend, a church, a community, an assistant, a buyer's agent? Like, who's counting on me such that if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I can't provide for them the way they deserve to be provided for? Does that make sense? Okay, what did you guys hear there?
To basically use our big why as our motivating factor every day, to help push us through what we need to accomplish every day to reach our goal.
I like that. What's your big why, Donna?
Well, we've talked about my big why before.
Well, I think I know exactly what you're referring to, or you don't have to share it publicly if you don't want to, but.
No, I don't mind, because it's a really big why and it's really important. It's very emotional. My big why is to help my daughter to start a family. She has to go through IVF to get pregnant. And I have committed to her to help her to pay for that because her health insurance doesn't cover it. So, you know, that's at the top of my mind every day. And even though I'm afraid to make calls, you know, it's kind of very uncomfortable for me to make cold calls to people I don't know. I remember that that's the reason why I'm doing it, and it kind of helps me, you know, push through that. We've been through IVF once and it was not successful, so we have to do it again. And so I have a few months to hopefully get to a point where I can help her do that again. So that's my big why.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal. She'll be 31 this year. So her and her husband have been together since middle school. And she's an assistant director in a child care facility. She sees people pregnant every day, and it's heart-wrenching for her. So it's very important to me to help her achieve that goal of starting a family.
Wow. Sometimes our struggles can be the thing that catapults us into an awesome life, you know, not to say you don't have an awesome life now, but into more of what you're looking for, right? Wow. So I'm going to encourage everybody, try to do that exercise, right? Oh, my big why is to be financially free. Why? So I can do whatever I want with my time. Well, why is that important? So I don't have to listen to somebody tell me when I can, take a vacation. Why is that important? Because I never got to take vacations as kids. Okay, now we're making some progress here. Why is that? Why are vacations important to you? Oh, they represent this. Why is that important? And you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper until you identify what it is you need to think about constantly to keep you in motion. Make sense? All right, I want to finish with this video here.
If you're going to have lasting change in anything, you're really talking about just raising your standards. I mean, I always tell people, if you want to know how to change your life, I give it to you in 3 words, boring as it sounds: raise your standards. And what does that mean? Corny as it sounds, raise your standards. So thank you for the breakthrough thought, Tony. I'm glad I wasted my time watching this little email with you. But think about it. Lasting change is different than a goal. You don't always get your goals, but you always get your standards. Maybe it'll help you is to think about it this way. I try to explain standards to people with a different set of words. Think of it as everybody in life gets their musts. They don't get their shoulds. Most people have a list of shoulds, don't they? Don't you have a list of the shoulds, things you should do, you should follow through on? I should lose some weight. I should work out more. I should make more calls. I should respond more rapidly to my email, whatever, I should get into the office earlier. I should be, more confident. Whatever your should list is, people love to have their should list be met, but it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. If it does, it's really exciting, but if it doesn't, which is most of the time, it's a little disappointing, but you kind of know it's not going to happen. But when you decide something is a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possible, you say, I'm going to find the way, I'm going to make the way. Human beings, when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside themselves, which is they raise the standard, they make it a must, they find the way. Think about it in your own life. Haven't you had some area of your life where you raise your standard and your life has never been the same? Maybe at one time in your life you smoked cigarettes, or you did something and you did it for years and you kept trying to change it, and kept telling yourself I should. And then one day something happened. Something just clicked you over. Something took you over that kind of tipping point. And inside yourself, you said, no more. It was a very, very different experience, wasn't it? Something inside of you shifted. And what was a should became a must, and you've never gone back. Is there an area like that in your life you could think of? Again, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Did you ever eat a certain way, drink a certain form of alcohol, and then finally say no more? You just don't go back. And notice this, it doesn't really take any willpower anymore. Because somewhere when we make this click, when we make something a must, we attach ourselves to it. It becomes part of our identity. One thing I've learned is human beings absolutely follow through on who they believe they are. If you said to me, well, I'm really going to work hard to stop smoking, but I've been a smoker my whole life, and I am a smoker. I know your days are numbered. You're going to be back smoking cigarettes again, because we all act consistent with who we believe we are. I tell people the strongest force in the whole human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as somebody who is really conservative, you're not going to be crazy and act nuts unless you're really drunk or something. And then you can say it's the alcohol, but it's really just you finally getting permission to be yourself. The alcohol is your excuse. If you're a really crazy person, you act crazy, outrageous, playful. You don't act conservative because it's not who you are. Very often people say, well, I can't do that. I'm not that kind of person. And I always say to people, really, when did you define yourself? I mean, very often we made decisions in our youth or very young about what to believe, about what we were capable of, about who we are as a person. And that becomes the glass ceiling, if you will, that controls us. there's a corny metaphor, but it's true. I remember one time I was with my family at the circus, and there was a person there, and they had this big giant elephant. And you look at this elephant, and they take this little rope, put it around the elephant's neck, and they drive the stake into the ground. And I mean, you look at this, and you know that elephant could rip down the entire tent with almost no effort. And yet the elephant doesn't struggle, doesn't try. Why? Because the elephant's conditioned. And they take that elephant, condition the elephant when it's a baby elephant. That's how they train it. When it's a little baby elephant and it doesn't have the power yet, they put a big rope around it and they drive this huge stake in the ground, and the elephant fights and fights and fights. And one day, finally, that elephant decides, I'm not capable of pulling this out. And once that becomes the definition of an identity of anyone, an elephant in this case, they don't even try anymore. It's just who I am. That's how it is. That's just the way it is in my life. I'd like to ask you to take a look at any place you've got a limitation and ask yourself, when did I decide to accept that limitation? And you may not even see it as a limitation. You might see it as just that's who I am. But so often in our lives, we've adapted to be a certain way so that we don't fail or so that people will like us or respect us, but it's not necessarily who we are. Joy comes when you're spontaneous. It's really hard to be truly happy when you're not being yourself. And most of us have no clue who we are. And so a big part of my work, if you've ever been to an event, you know, is to get people to do things spontaneously without thinking, because that's when the real you shows up. That's when the energy comes alive. And when you do that, when you start to connect to your true nature, suddenly there's energy available for you to set a higher standard for what you want in your life. That's what this is really all about. And when I talk about standards, when I talk about, you know, shoulds versus musts, think about your own life. I know there have been areas in your life where some point in time you just shifted, you raised the standard, your life changed. Because whatever people have their identity attached to, they live. We live who we believe we are. That's just how it works. Your physical body today is an absolute reflection of only one thing, not your goals, not your desires, but your standards. The identity you have for yourself. If your standard is you're an athlete, then there's a certain amount of strength, a muscle tone, and energy that's available in your body on a regular basis because that's who you are. And so you do whatever is necessary to maintain that identity. Now, do you think those people that are out there working out 5 days a week, do they have more time than you do? Or I have, or anybody else? Of course not. Is their life less busy? Of course not. It's just a must for them. They must work out that way, and they've made that turn, their life change. So I'm not saying you have to work out 5 days a week. I'm just saying whatever you really want, wants don't get met consistently. Standards do. Whatever you identify, this is who I am. And so it's not so much about changing your identity as there's expanding it. Money's the same way. People that make money find a way to make money no matter what, don't they? They work their guts out. And then somebody, their mother, their father, somebody else, their sister gets ill, and there's not enough money to take care of it. Nobody else has money in the family. They don't either, but they find a way to get that money to take care of their mother or father, don't they? And pay their bills. They never could do it before. Why? The situation made them raise their own standard. And not everybody does that. Somebody else in the family might have money and still not take care of their mother. It all comes down to the inner game, my friends. Changing your life is a change in the inner game. Again, the strongest force in the human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. Because if you don't know who you are, you wouldn't know how to act. I'm just simply saying to you, take those 3 magic words and live them. Raise your standard.
That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're pretty much towards the end. I just want to, again, thank you for hanging out with me every morning at 8:30. I know sometimes sometimes you hear things you may not want to hear. Sometimes you need to hear them. It's just an honor to be in business with you. My goal every single day is to help you think the way you need to think so you can do what you need to do so you can get what you want to get, right? That's what leadership is all about. It's leadership is helping people think the way they need to think so that they can do whatever they need to do so they can get whatever they need to get. Okay. And that's what having a peer group like this is all about. That's what having coaches like myself and Candace is all about. And you know, we gotta figure out a way to bring our best self to the table to work every day, right? and a lot of the personal development and leadership stuff that we've been kind of looking at over the last couple of weeks, particularly, is designed to do just that, right? Because every day is not going to be awesome, right? And it's the people that have the crappy days that get up tomorrow and keep doing the work, right? And I just want to close with one idea. It's if you don't, I in the last couple of days, I've interestingly enough heard a lot of people that are talking about cold calls, and I would just want to be perfectly clear on something. You don't have to call any strangers, okay? I would venture to say that we all have networks that are big enough through Instagram, Facebook, particularly LinkedIn, right? Our church, our community, our neighborhood, our school, our kids' schools, whatever it is, where we can talk to the people that we already know, and the people that already know that we're good people, that we care about deadlines, that we're, have a great work ethic, that we, are interested in doing the best thing for our people, right? That we have their best interest at hand. Okay. So if you're uncomfortable about calling strangers, let's try something different. Okay. I'm not forcing you to call strangers, but I do know your goal and I do know what it takes to get there. So if whatever you're doing isn't creating that, we just either need to push harder on it, try something different. Doesn't necessarily have to be cold calling, but I want to make sure we're focused on the activities, right? Does all that make sense?
Yes, and before we finish, can I just make a comment?
Please.
I just want you and Candace to know how much I appreciate you and appreciate our group. I find value in starting the morning with this call. I've kind of missed the past couple of weeks, and having this morning call to start the business day is very helpful. And having our group chats, I mean, there's so much value in that, because yeah, we learn a lot of stuff in classes throughout the week and on an ongoing basis, but it's in this group where we can share ideas and just revisit different ideas. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate that.
That is exactly, thank you. That is exactly why we do what we do, right? Because if Donna earns the money that she needs to earn to allow her daughter to have a child, and they can create all of those experiences as a family in a somewhat of a selfish way, if I had this much to do with it, you're not going to be able to wipe this smile off my face. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I can't stress enough that as I feel like I'm still a relatively new agent, and it can be really, really overwhelming when you're new. There's just so much information, and just to have really like hand holding, I feel like that's what, productivity coaching pushes me to be more productive, but it also provides me with a sense of security, because I know I have a great group of people that I can reach out to whenever I need a little extra guidance or I have a question. So I just wanted to let you and Candace know how much I really, really value you and appreciate you.
That really means the world to me. And I'll be sure Candace had to jump off for the morning leadership meeting, but I will make sure that she knows that you said that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Don't forget, guys, from 11 to 12, today we have both of our masterminds going on simultaneously. So if you're, let's say, brand new up to, let's say, 3 units, I want you to go to Candace's Zoom room from 11 to 12. The link, of course, is in the announcements WhatsApp page, or the, the help WhatsApp page. And if you're 4 units or more per year, come back to this room. From 11 to 12, we're going to talk about the topics that are most relevant to you. And it's going to be a mastermind, so we can share ideas and help one another and celebrate successes and overcome challenges all together. So please feel free to attend those. 11 to 12 in this room for 4 and up units, and 0 to 3 units in Candace's room. And I will see you soon. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks. Have a great
Thank you,
day.
Bill. Have a